Hello everyone, and welcome to the penultimate HRL recap. Of course, because there's going to be one more recap after this. We still have one more race night to go, Triple Crown at Laguna Seca or Haguna Seca. Haha. So still one more race night to go. So there'll be another recap after this one, but this one will be the big one. This is always the recap that I look forward to the most in any of these seasons, because this is where we go down to all the, different mulligan scenarios and stuff like that for the final race of the season. This is where we get a good picture of how the last race can change the points positions or how it can't, right? Like which positions are locked in, which positions are still up for grabs, what scenarios have to play out for certain things to happen. So all that is why I always really love this recap. So I actually have Gateway up right here, but I do want to go back to Toronto quick because I was going to do a recap for Toronto. Didn't get around to it, so I will cover Toronto real quick. So we take a look at Toronto. Detail taking the overall for this one. I took second, Roman third, Hunter fourth, Slaunch fifth. That rounds out the top five. Soul is basically top five as well. 32 points, top two spots, 26 for Roman, 24 for Hunter, 23 for Slaunch and Soul. Fireball showing up this night. Can be Elite Armada, all pretty close with each other. And the Moto wins. Detail taking the first one. I ended up taking the second one here at Toronto. But yeah, speaking about the race subjectively, I guess, a bit, this is a track that I think going into Roman's two tracks, I think you would have looked at Lafayette and you would have looked at Toronto, and you probably would have thought, like, oh, Toronto's absolutely going to be the cheesier track. It has potential to be the worst race from how aggressive the track is, how small the track is, how tight the track is. It's basically a go-kart in the Hogs. It takes the street course like to the extreme. But funnily enough, I actually think it played out the opposite. I think this race was actually the better race between the two. I really enjoyed the track, and I liked Lafayette too, but I definitely enjoyed this one more. And I think this one was actually somehow cleaner too. Like I expected this one to have a lot more wrecks as you'd think, but that didn't really. I mean, there was a few instances, but for the most part, it really wasn't that bad. It wasn't like noticeably worse than just like an average IndyHog race. So I actually really enjoyed Toronto. So I want to give a shout out to Roman for that. I think he did a really good job with this one. This might have been my favorite street course race. As far as like the tracks go, I'd have to think about it, but as far as the race goes, this is probably my favorite street course race in the season. I thought this one was really fun to participate in. So yeah, Toronto was really fun. Now let's go to Gateway. Oh, and I'll say it here too, because we're just now getting to Gateway. This will probably be a pretty long recap because I'm combining a few things. I'm doing the recap, of course, and then there's going to be a little bit of protocol cheese mixed in, and a little bit of a trailer preview as well. So instead of doing different videos on different stuff, or like doing this and then doing an update video, doing the protocol cheese video, whatever, I wanted to just throw it all into this recap. So this will basically be one of those that's kind of like a podcast essentially, and yeah, it should set the stage for all the things that I wanted to talk about for the week. Okay, so getting back into Gateway. So this one was Slaunch's other track. So this was Roman's second track that he made for the season. This is Slaunch's third track on the season, his second one that he made for the season. He wanted to have an attempt at an oval, and funnily enough, a little bit of lore. I think I have gone over this before, but I was actually working on Gateway initially, and I had a test version of it. And if you go back to one of the like way back original Road to IndyHog episodes, it might even be in multiple of those episodes, I even show off the version that I was making. And then he came to me and he was like, is there an oval up for grabs? And I was like, well, technically no, but I don't really feel like finishing Gateway. So if you want to have a crack at it, you can. And he was like, all right, bet. So I tossed mine because I think it had potential, but I didn't love it. And I started working on Milwaukee Mile, and Milwaukee Mile was like really similar to it, but I liked Milwaukee more than what I was making. So I was like, you know what? You do your take on Gateway. Mine's too similar to what I'm working on with a different track anyways. You do it. See what you come up with. So he does it, comes up with this track, and I think this track was pretty sweet. It definitely, he put a lot of work into the line balance, and the inside definitely felt stronger when we got to the race. But it was one of those tracks that I like where, sure, it was stronger, and sure, it was probably like the passing line generally, but the outside wasn't bad. And there was definitely situations where you'd want to run the outside. There was definitely, especially in turn 3 and 4, there was a lot of different, like I wouldn't even say the inside was the stronger line in 3 and 4. Like there was probably like a mixed line that you could do. There was a lot of different things you could do in 3 and 4. Turn 1 and 2 was definitely the more inside dominant, but again, had a lot of battles where I was able to set things up at the outside there, and it worked out. Even though that's the important thing with these tracks usually, you know, when you have an inside dominant track, is to at least make the outside have some use to it, and I think that was the case here. So I think it worked out pretty well. And if we raced it again, you know, I don't think it would take a very large adjustment. The only, like, he could maybe buff the outside or nerf the inside to 1 and 2, like a slight bit, but I wouldn't tweak it too much because it's like very close to perfect, I think. So track was really cool. It was really fun to race. It was a good race. And Detail ends up taking the sweep on the night. Both the motos came in clutch at the end of Moto 1, and both motos, honestly, this wasn't like a dominant, like leading most of the race performance like Milwaukee, where, I mean, that one we led damn near all the laps. I feel like this was more of a right spot at the right time, you know, get there at the end, clutch up performance, and ended up working out for him. So huge run for him at the end of the season here. Taking these wins, well, taking both these wins was actually really clutch. We'll get to that when we look at the points. It was super clutch. I don't want to understate it at all. It was huge, actually. So he takes both the wins, and overall, Wise, of course, ends up winning the overall 34 points, end up taking second with 29, and then, yeah. Look at how close. Look at how close everybody is. This happened not in every oval race of the season, but this happened in quite a few, and I always think it's hilarious. Look at this 4-way tie. And shout out to Armada. He gets the tiebreaker, which is awesome. So Armada, this might be, funnily enough, he didn't end up getting a top 5 finish on the night in the motos, but he gets a top 5 overall, and it might be his only top 5 overall on the season. So shout out to him there. Huge finish for him. But yeah, so Hunter, with another really good oval performance, gets himself on the podium, top 3 overall, 24. Camby, great performance for Camby. This was like kind of a low-key one, because Camby had a really strong start to the season. I feel like his second half, even though he's been lagging out less, hasn't been as strong. But this is another good, like, low-key, bring-it-back performance. Camby, keep his name in the conversation, 23 points. Fourth, Armada, this massive tie. Soul, Fireball, Slaunch, all 21. Armada gets the tiebreaker. However he gets it, he gets it. So huge for him. Roman, 20. Elite, 16, Coop 14. Yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool. I always love when this happens. I think that's hilarious. But yeah, Gateway was a pretty fun race. And these, for the championship battle, these wins were huge. For the other battles and points, it honestly wasn't that impactful because everybody was so close to each other. Hunter and Camby are battling, but look, they were like a point off each other. Soul and Roman like a point off each other. So for the other points battles, it really didn't have that big of an impact. But for the champ battle, it did for sure. And we'll get to that. Now we're getting to the point in the video with these recaps that I always look forward to. These end of season recaps, going through the points and going through all sorts of scenarios here. So let's give you the rundown. So of course, I'm still in the lead with 380. Detail second with 367. Slaunch third with 349. Soul and Roman still pretty close. Soul's increased the gap a bit, but still pretty close. 308 for Soul, 301 for Roman. And then same case here. 286 for Hunter, 278 for Camby. So, you know, bit of a gap, but still pretty close. I think these points battles are still on. Armada's kind of in no man's land in 8th with 232. Coop, same deal, 9th, 178, kind of on his own. Elite, 10th with 141. Although if Coop doesn't, you know, Coop should show up to the last night, because if Elite does and he doesn't, Elite could actually pass him, but Elite would have to have a very good night. But it is definitely possible. Vulcan and Matt, same deal. I mean, they're tied with each other, but, you know, same deal, kind of off seasons for them. Not showing up to, like, full-time on the season. So both at 91. Opix with 58. Real Deal with 50, and Fireball with a few late appearances here, 42. He'll probably get both of these spots, I would imagine. I don't think he would quite catch up to them. I think he could actually pass Vulcan and Matt in theory if he swept, but I think he'd literally, like, have to sweep. So, could happen. Could happen. Interesting that that's that's available, but we'll have to wait and see there. Okay, so that was your run through of the points here. Now, this isn't really, like, the interesting stuff, right? Because this doesn't really give you the whole lay of the land, like what do the mulligans look like? Like there's a lot of question marks here. But what this does tell you, at least to some extent, is what the battles are. So what the battles are is the champ battle it's a long shot, but it's still on. Slaunch is kind of locked in to 3rd, and I'll go over that. Sol and Roman for 4th and 5th, Hunter and Camby for 6th and 7th. And then there's a few spots here that could change, but it's pretty unlikely, so I'm not going to go over any of them because, again, it's like super unlikely, but like technically there's some spots here that could change, possibly. But yeah, the main battles, Sol, Roman, Hunter, Camby, myself, Detail, for the champs. So let's go to my recap cheese tab because I don't want to mess with the actual tab. So Opix, obviously, shout out to him for putting in a lot of work to the docs throughout the season. But one thing particularly that he did with these docs for IndyHog that I think is really cool is it's automated for the mulligans now. So not only is that nice for, obviously, just entering in the results, having it be automated, not having to, that's a lot of time I spend at the end of every season having to, go through and manually do the mulligans, and there's always the chance, I don't think it's happened, but there's always the chance that I could make a mistake there as well. The system shouldn't happen. So that saves a lot of time. The other cool part about it is that I can go over these scenarios very easily now. So if you remember from like old recaps, I'd try to go over these scenarios, and it could take a lot of work. It could take a lot of work, and I'd have to like do all the math myself. Don't have to do that. I can very easily show you guys what the situations are. So from the top down, let's do that. So you see my possible mulligans. So my mulligans right now are 14, 14, 14. So what does this mean? So hopefully this will give you guys a good idea of like how this works. So let's say we have a full lobby and I finish last in all 3 motos. As you can see, I want you to look at like this point total right here. Doesn't move, right? Doesn't move. Second last, doesn't move. Because those will end up taking over these 3rd places, right? These will end up being the mulligans. So that also means that for me to improve upon my score, right? Look, I get 4th, still not going up. So for me to improve, I need to get 2nd or 1st. So throw in a 15, 2nd place. There we go, get a point. Throw in a win, 3 points with the bonus point as well. Yeah. So for me to improve my score at all, my score is most likely locked in at well, I shouldn't say that, but like it's for sure 100% locked in at 380, right? It could go up, but I'm not gonna end with lower than 380, right? Can't happen. Now, why is that interesting? So we go over to detail, and let's say, well, because it kind of has to happen, you'll see. Let's say he takes the sweep. 380. So this is why I was saying that the performance at Gateway was like super clutch. It was super clutch because it still gives him a chance at the championship. Now it's a long shot. What you see here is literally what has to happen. Like let's throw in a 2nd place. 378, not gonna be enough. And again, my total cannot lower from 380. It can only go up. It can only go up, right? It cannot go lower. So he literally has to sweep. Has to sweep. And if he sweeps, I could still win. Because let's say I go 3rd in 2 motos, 2nd place. That would be the 1 point, right? So even if he does sweep, the ball is still kind of in my court to an extent as well. Because all I need to do is get 1 2nd place or a win. So that's a factor too. But if he does sweep and I don't improve, it would be a tie, and he would have the tiebreaker. So, because he would have, I don't remember what it is, if it's overall wins or moto wins first. I know it's one of those two, but it doesn't matter because he would have both. Because we're tied at overalls right now. He would obviously get the overall, so it'd go to 6, and would get the moto win advantage as well. That would go to 13. So yeah, essentially, he literally needs to sweep out for like an insane run here at the end. Needs to sweep out to get a crazy tiebreaker scenario where he actually would take the championship. So it's a long shot, but I gotta hammer home the suspense and the excitement for the views. But no, for the final race, of course. But yeah, it's definitely a long shot, but it is possible. So in this exact scenario, right, this is how he can win, but he needs like this type of scenario to play out. He needs to win all 3 of the races, and then on top of that, I need to not get 2nd, at least 2nd. in any of them, right? So, yeah, we'll see. It's pretty exciting that, you know, again, it is a crazy scenario, and even he knows the scenario, and even he's admitted it. Like, it's a crazy scenario. It's definitely a long shot. But I mean, sweep here at Gateway, it's definitely possible, and it is his track. This is his one track, funnily enough, on the season, so that's a little advantage there too. And the one thing that I would say, and he'd probably agree with this as well, that's not in his favor is that it's a Triple Crown, and for whatever reason, the Triple Crowns have not been his best nights on the season. And also, like, it's an extra moto, right? Like, if it was 2 races and he had to sweep, that's, like, pretty doable, right? But, like, 3 races makes it a lot harder, adding in that extra moto. So, there's, like, pros and cons to his position, right? But either way, there's a chance, and I'm glad that there's a chance. I'm glad that we still have some excitement going into the last night. So there you go. There you guys have the championship scenario. I think I went over it pretty well right there. And that's the look at it. So still on, gonna be a very tall order from detail, but it could get exciting. It could get exciting. Now, Slaunch. So what I was saying before about how Slaunch is locked in the third, I'll show you guys that. Even though I, of course, already kind of knew that, but I'll show you that as well. So let's say Slaunch sweeps, right? Not going to be enough. He's still going to be short on detail. So Slaunch had a great run. His start to the season was kind of rocky, and then he went on a great run from I think it was like Road America onwards. He went on a great middle of the season run, and then the last few races haven't gone his favor. He had a really good night at Portland where he got his most recent overall, and then I think kind of after that, it's been a bit like up and down again. Oh yeah, it kind of shows it here too. Portland gets the overall first, second, and then Pocono wasn't that bad. 4th and 3rd wasn't that bad, but then Toronto 4th and that what is this? A 7th place finish. Gateway was it 9th place, and the 4th. Yeah, so these last couple weeks just haven't gone his way, and he was keeping it close. He was keeping his name in the conversation for the champ battle and for the 2nd place battle, but now he's out of it. He cannot, even if he sweeps, details total cannot get lower. Slaunch cannot take 2nd. And unfortunately, it's not going to be a very exciting night for him because let's put Soul at a sweep. Let's put Roman at a sweep. They can't do it either. So Slaunch is just locked. But I'm technically not done talking about the champ battle, because there is an interesting... Slaunch is definitely an interesting character in this championship fight, because there's also the titles for the different track categories. So for the street courses, this has already been wrapped up, of course. Same thing for the ovals. And I'll go over these more in depth in the final recap, even though they're technically already done. But the road course one is still on, and it's really close. Oh, is this one not set up yet? Oh, no, it is. Okay. But the road course one is still on, and it's going to be... Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. This one's good. But the road... Sorry about that. I didn't know you already updated this, so shout out Opix for that. The road course one is still on. And as you can see, it's a pretty close battle. So Slaunch, even though he's not competing for that other stuff, he could still take the road course title. He is in 3rd, and it is going to be difficult, but he could still take... This is something in the season that he can still compete for. And I think, like, knowing him, I think he still will. So Slaunch is another thing... He's another, like, spoiler in the champ battle as well. Even though he's not playing for that, overall points anymore, he's still contending for the road course points because it's very, very close. And, if he takes a win, that's Detail's chances for the overall champ already out the window. But Slaunch obviously isn't concerned about that. He's going for what he can go for, and this is what he can go for at this point. So that, even though Slaunch is locked in the main points, he's still a player in the final night, which is pretty interesting. Okay, so let's take a look at Soul and Roman. Let's say Soul just gets mulligans, Roman sweeps. That'd be a lot. So let's do something like more realistic. Let's say Roman gets like a few thirds. It'd be close, like. Then that would be a tie. Roman gets 3 5th places, and Soul gets worse than like 6th. Yeah, so I would say, judging by this, I would say Soul is at a pretty big advantage over Roman. Like, let's just throw in some average finishes. Let's say Roman has a pretty good night. Let's say he gets like a third, a fourth, and a third. Like, that's a pretty good night for Roman here, I'd say. And let's say Soul has an off night. Let's just say he gets, like, I don't know. We'll still give Soul, like, a top 5. Give him, like, a something like that. And in this scenario, what? Roman would get it by 2. Yeah, so basically, these are some random scenarios here, but I'm just trying to show how close Soul and Roman, like, their battle is. And this shows that it is still pretty close. Like, Roman's going to have a pretty strong night. I'm going to say he's going to have at least a podium, and Soul's going to have to, like, not podium at all and, like, hardly improve upon his points. But, like, I think this is a somewhat realistic, like, this type of finish could happen. And it would still be very close, like 2-point gap. So Roman and Soul's battle is still on. I'd say Soul is definitely at a big advantage there, but it's still on. And now let's look at Hunter and Camby. Hunter and Camby, I mean, their mulligans are probably locked. Camby, like, a crazy night. Give Hunter, like, an average night. Then that would be Camby by 3. Okay, yeah, so I'd say Hunter probably has a bigger advantage, judging by these random results that I added in. I'd say Hunter probably has a bigger advantage than Camby here. Camby maybe with the mulligans maybe a little bit worse, but yeah, like I'd say Hunter has a bigger advantage than like Soul does over Roman. So Hunter Camby, I would say, is like probably pretty locked. It's technically not, but it's technically still a battle. Camby could make it closer. I would say most likely Hunter ends up taking this though. That's kind of how I see this one playing out. But again, on the other hand, Soul Roman is, like, that battle's legit. This is the most legit battle, I'd say, of all the ones that we have left. Okay, so there you go. I went through the some different, like, mulligan scenarios, just some random numbers, and then the very specific situation that has to play out for detail. Went through all those to give you guys a look at it and see, like, you know, what could possibly happen, like how good the night needs to be. The takeaways here, Detail has to have a literally perfect night, and I have to not finish second in any of the motos. Roman has to have a very good night, but not a great night to beat Soul, and Soul has to have a pretty mediocre night for that to happen as well. If Soul has a decent night too, he'll still beat Roman. And then for Hunter and Camby has to have, like, a phenomenal night, and Hunter has to have a pretty bad one. So that's kind of the scenario. So again, this is, like, the most legit one. This one is, like, the second most realistic, and then this one is, like, the biggest long shot. But, I mean, hey, swept last week, so I don't know. Still a chance. But just, like, odds-wise, that's kind of, like, what it's looking like here. Okay, so let's take a look at the schedule. And obviously, I mean, this is pretty much the end of the recap. There's not too much to look at here. But this will be kind of a cool look, of course, like, before we get to that final recap, just to get to see all the results from the season. It's been a pretty crazy season. I've really enjoyed this season. You know, after RX, I'm not going to pull up the RX schedule right now, but after RX, which was, like, the races were fun, but the actual, like, the season of it, you know, the storylines weren't there as much. You know, things kind of settled out, like, halfway through the season. Even for, like, middle of the pack, like, points battles as well. Like, those were kind of in their own area code as well for some of them. Like points battle-wise and stuff like that, it wasn't as exciting of a season. And I'm really happy that IndyHog, even though it's gone on really long, that it's brought that back, and that there's been really good competition and, like, up and down. It's been kind of a roller coaster of a season. I obviously had a really strong start. Opix came in with a crazy overall win here. Detail heated up in the middle of, like, October, and then Hunter came in, Slaunch came in. They started putting in some performances. Detail's coming in back at the end. I got a couple more in here too. It's been, like, super up and down throughout, and then if you look not just at the wins, but if you look at, like, the other overall positions as well, Hunter finishing on the top 3 overall 3 times, Roman finishing literally 3rd overall 3 times. Well, no, sorry, Hunter 4 times. He's got a 1st, a 2nd, and 2 thirds. So yeah, 4 times. My bad. That's pretty incredible. That'd be a prediction that, you know, most people probably wouldn't. He probably wouldn't have even made that. So that's pretty sweet. Can be shown in for a crazy Indy performance. Should have got a moto win there. That would have been sick. But yeah, Camby just at the big track came out to race and had a really good performance there. Soul with a couple of his top 3s in here. Moto win in there. Yeah, it's been really cool. And as you can see, we have all these different like awards and stuff. We'll find out the champion on Friday. The Triple Crown title, I should have that one locked up, but the Road Course title is up for grabs. It's very close between Slaunch, Detail, and myself, so who knows who that one's going to end up going to. Longest overall win streak, well, spoiler alert, the only overall win streak, funnily enough, is actually Detail, and he did it twice, 2 in a row twice. So the reason why it's not filled in is because he could improve it. He could win this one, and then it'd be 3, but it doesn't matter. He's going to get it anyways. Longest moto win streak, funnily enough, I double-checked this. I think this is also 2. So again, like the competition of IndyHog, I'm happy that that's the case. Or wait, no. Oh, I had 3. I didn't notice that when I was looking earlier. St. Pete Moto 2 into 2 in a row at Indy. Yeah, I had 3. Okay. And then I think Detail's best was 2. So 3 is the best moto win streak for myself right now, but Detail could tie it if he wins Laguna Seca Moto 1, and then potentially the others he could beat it as well. So that's he's got the longest overall locked up. I've got longest moto right now, but it could still be beaten. Most Grand Slams. If a Grand Slam is what I think it is, I think Detail and I both have 1. I think mine was Barber, and I think his was actually not Gateway. I think his was actually Milwaukee Mile. Largest overall winning margin, I checked. I think it's me right now by 7. Pocono? Yeah, I'm pretty... There's a couple... I think Hunter actually has 6. I think Detail has 6 in one of them. So I think it's me right now with 7 for Pocono. But again, Laguna Seca, that could still be beaten. I don't recall what Hot Hand is, so sorry, Opix. Hardest Charger, I think, is the highest plus-minus in the season. I have that right now. Could still be beaten. Best Race, I guess we could do a poll for that. You guys start thinking about that. What do you think the best race was? Something to start thinking about. I have no idea what I would vote for that. I have no clue. I really don't. There's a lot of really good ones, but it's just like competing between each other. I'd have to think about it. Biggest upset win? If we're talking moto, I'm not sure. If we're talking overall, it's between Hunter and Opix, and I think there's genuinely an argument here for both. I would actually say it's Opix, but I think there's... Mostly because Opix didn't get a moto in his win. I think that's kind of what I'm leaning towards. But there's actually an argument for both. So that'd be an interesting one to debate as well. What you guys think the bigger upset win is? Because it's definitely between them. I just don't know which I'd go for. Again, I'm leaning Opix, but I could really see the argument for both. So yeah, that's all there is with all the awards and stuff. Of course, again, one more time, Laguna Seca, final race. We're coming up to it. 12 laps in the motos, 5 laps in the heats. And yeah, I think I've set the stage pretty well. So, and I'll talk about a lot of this again in the final recap. We're already going on pretty long. I said this one would be a podcast. Okay, so I'll quickly, since most of this has been the actual recap, I'll quickly go over the other stuff that I wanted to talk about, fit into this recap. Okay, so Protocol Cheese, quick Protocol Cheese Infinite update. I just wanted to say, so if you saw the last video, you know that they put the new networking, testing it in the Firefight playlist. Well, I am kind of surprised at how fast it's moved. They actually put in that same networking into Squad Battle. So the Squad Battle, like, super popular playlist on Infinite the past however long it's been in the game, like half a year or so. Super popular playlist. And they actually put the new networking into that playlist as well, which of course that playlist has PvP. So again, when they put it into Firefight, I thought like, oh, this could be like a month before they test it in a PvP playlist. Well, literally a week later. Or has it been that long? Week and a half? I don't know. It hasn't been that long. I'm gonna say about a week later, they put it into Squad Battle, and I tested it, and I've seen a few weird things on Reddit, but for me, it was really good. It was really good. I tested out the vehicle stuff, trying to run into teammates a little bit, and the vehicle stuff, same as Firefight, felt a lot better. Like the collision, the vehicle physics, even not just interacting with each other, but interacting with like hitting rocks, hitting walls, explosions. Vehicle physics seem a lot better. And then the actual gameplay wise as well, the hit reg for me felt way better, because I know a lot of people really like the Bandit in ranked, or the Bandit, the new Bandit Evo. I know a lot of people really like that. My unpopular opinion, hot take, is that I haven't been as big of a fan of it, because the current networking in the game you get a lot of blanks with the bandit. And it's a blank with the bandit hurts you a lot more than a blank, like one bullet out of a burst. In a burst with a BR, it hurts you a lot more. So that's a reason why I haven't been a fan of the bandit switch personally, is genuinely mostly because of the networking. Like, just the blanks with it are really frustrating. I didn't notice a single one. I played for about an hour. I used the bandit a lot. And I genuinely, and this is something that I would notice, like, multiple blanks a game. Multiple a game, like, constantly. With the other networking, playing with the bandit. I played for about an hour, didn't notice a single one. And yeah, the shots that looked like they should have hit were hitting. And the shots that looked like they should have missed were missing. And I was like, this is kind of cool. It felt really good. So, and it's a really good sign that that it's going ahead this quickly, that there's being more tests like this quickly. So, yeah, so I just wanted to give an update on that and say that, yeah, things are moving, so that's exciting. And the final thing for this recap is the trailers. So, I'm going to be honest, I had bigger plans for, like, you know, weeks leading up to it, like teases of the trailer and stuff like that. But for whatever reason, I feel like the IndyHog season moved by faster for me than, like, Road to IndyHog time period. I don't know why. Even though this season's way longer than that time period, it felt like this went faster to me. And yeah, it kind of just blew by, and I kind of got taken off guard, and I was like, holy crap, we're at the final week. I gotta work on this. So I'll admit, my bad on that one. I had bigger plans. That being said, I'm still gonna do a trailer that I think will be pretty sweet. And it'll still be like the same trailer. Like, I'm not losing out on the trailer. I was just gonna do, like, more teases leading up to it. Now I probably won't do any. I'll probably just do the trailer. The trailer will be ideally Friday night after the races. If it doesn't happen then it'll be on the weekend, either Saturday or Sunday. It'll be on the weekend, so whenever I finish it. But I'm aiming for Friday after the races. But again, if not, it'll be on that weekend. And the trailer will show, it's not going to give away everything, but it'll give you a good idea of what the plan is for next season, next year, and then even beyond that as well. Again, it's not going to literally spell it out. It's not going to be like, hey, here's the schedule. You know what I mean? I think that stuff can have a little bit of off season. I think we can wait on that, especially since this is the longer off season. But it'll give a very, very, very good idea. Yeah, I think it'll be exciting. I think there'll be, the way I'll put it is, I think there will be something for everyone in the new season. That's the way that I would put it. I think there will be something for everybody. So yeah, it should be pretty cool. All right, well, that does it. That was I knew that was going to be a crazy upload, but yeah, I knew that was going to happen. Went through it was really fun for me going through the different mulligan scenarios. Oh, I can delete this now. Going through the different mulligan scenarios, showing you guys, you know, everything that's going on there, going through the previous races, and, you know, setting the stage for Laguna. So again, one more time, Laguna is this Friday. Track looks awesome. Really looking forward to racing it. It's a Triple Crown, last one on the season, the fourth one on the season, fourth and final. First one on a road course. That'll be really interesting. I've been looking forward to it the whole time. I think it'll be a great closer track for the season. I think it fits being like a final race track. And yeah, so final battles to look forward to. The champ battle is still on. It's going to be a long shot, but detail, if he sweeps the night and I don't take a second, it is still possible. Sol and Roman have a very legit, I've been following their battle the entire season, very legit 4th and 5th, still going on. Hunter and Camby, pretty big long shot here as well, but Camby could still clutch up and take that spot too. So yeah, still some, even though it's the final race and even though a lot of this is set in stone, there's still a lot of question marks, still some exciting stuff to follow, and I hope you guys are there racing it or watching it and following it in that way. All right, hope you guys enjoyed the recap. I'll see you Friday. Later.